Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Recap Corner. Today, I've got a special treat for you, a recap of the movie Blade. Spoilers ahead. Be prepared, watch out and take care. In 1967, the movie opens with a pregnant woman being rushed to the emergency room of a hospital after being attacked by an unidentified animal, according to the paramedics. Although the woman did not survive despite receiving medical treatment, her baby was delivered and managed to survive. After several years, a young man and woman head out for a night on the town. They make their way to a clandestine rave club, and as they revel in the music, the man detects blood emanating from the fire sprinklers. It dawns on him that the revelers are actually vampires, thirsting for blood. Suddenly, their celebration is interrupted by the arrival of Blade, a vampire hunter. Armed and ready, he launches a fierce assault against any vampire who tries to fight back, causing the others to scatter in panic. He recognizes one of his attackers, named Quinn, and sets him on fire before he leaves. The paramedics and firefighters arrive and take Quinn's heavily damaged body. At the hospital, Karen, a hematologist, and her co-worker, Dr. Curtis, are examining Quinn's dead body. Karen finds an abnormality in his blood cells. As they examine the corpse, Quinn unexpectedly reanimates and swiftly sinks his teeth into both of them before making a hasty escape. Blade appears on the scene, initially intending to apprehend Quinn, but upon laying eyes on Karen, memories of his own mother's passing resurface, leading him to opt for a rescue instead. They escape the cops, then he brings her to his crib, where his co-worker, Whistler, injects her with garlic essence. She has been bitten, so it will only be a matter of time before she is turned into a vampire. In the meantime, the vampires convene for a council meeting. The senior vampires express apprehension over Blade's recent assault on a nightclub owned by Deacon Frost, a human-turned-vampire. They believe vampires can survive by blending in with humans, making back-alley treaties, and staying out of trouble, while Frost believes they are destined to be a far superior species to humans and intends to wage a war between vampires and humans. The rest of the vampires hold Frost in contempt due to his status as a non-pure blood, but he remains steadfast in his scheme. Meanwhile, Karen awakens and overhears Blade and Whistler discussing her situation. She watches as Whistler administers a higher dosage of serum to Blade, causing a severe reaction that necessitates his restraint before they prepare to relocate. Recognizing that Karen is conscious, they clarify that they are embroiled in a covert conflict between humans and vampires, which occasionally results in the involvement of unintended victims like herself. Since Karen has been bitten, she has become a target for vampires, and they advise her to leave town if she wishes to avoid danger. Whistler also advises her to purchase a firearm and to monitor herself for symptoms of vampirism, such as photosensitivity and insatiable thirst. Meanwhile, Frost is preoccupied with decoding ancient vampire texts, leading him to break into a hallowed archive chamber. Blade drives Karen to her apartment. When taking the elevator, she notices people near her bearing similar tattoos on their necks. Afraid that they are after her, she quickly walks to her apartment door, then immediately gets in. Nevertheless, Karen inadvertently leaves the door ajar, prompting a seemingly nondescript police officer named Krieger to drop in on the pretense of conducting a routine check. During their discussion, Karen detects an unusual vibe emanating from Krieger, who promptly lunges at her. Employing the essence of garlic to defend herself, Karen bewilders Krieger, who is not a vampire. Blade appears and defeats Krieger instantly, explaining to Karen that Krieger is a familiar, human loyal to the vampires. Karen realizes Blade sets her as bait to lure the vampires. Krieger escapes, then Blade attempts to chase after him. Karen decides to stay with Blade, realizing he can keep her safe. They discover a nearby vampire safehouse and make their way in. Later on, they chance upon Krieger once more, and he guides them to a covert passage leading to an archives room. He subsequently relays the information to Frost, who is busy hosting a celebration. However, Frost deems him to be of no use and attacks him, instructing Quinn and his cohorts to apprehend Blade. In the archives room, Blade and Karen encounter Pearl, the custodian of the archives, and interrogate him with UV lights to extract details about a prophecy. The prophecy predicts that the spirits of the 12 will arouse the blood deity, La Magra, and that Blade has a pivotal role in fulfilling it. While looking around the archive room, Blade notices someone has been following them, which turns out to be newly healed Quinn and his henchmen. He and Karen barely escape to the underground subway tunnels, defeating some of the vampires in the process. After making sure they are safe, Blade injects himself with his serum that suppresses his bloodthirst. Karen deduces that he is a vampire too. Whistler elaborates that he assumed responsibility for Blade's welfare after his mother died in childbirth, following an attack by a vampire. The assault imbued Blade with the physical might and thirst for blood of a vampire, but as a human-vampire hybrid, he does not possess the customary vampire weakness to garlic and silver. Additionally, he does not age at a slower pace than humans. Frost and his accomplices execute Dragonetti, one of the elder pureblood vampires, by exposing him to the sunrise. They extract his fangs and present them to the Vampire Council meeting, compelling the other elders to submit to their authority. Blade gives Whistler a piece of the ancient text from the archives room to help him deduce Frost's plan. Meanwhile, Karen borrows some equipment from the hospital to conduct her blood research, aiming to find a cure for Blade. She introduces them to EDTA, a compound usually used for treating blood clots. When she combines it with a vampire blood sample, it causes an explosion that could be a powerful weapon against them. She is pleased with her discovery and takes some of Blade's blood to keep working on a cure. She hears Whistler coughing frequently and Blade tells her that he has cancer. Whistler sees Karen's bite wounds and warns her that she has only 2 days or less to turn into a vampire. Blade encounters Frost at the park and Frost asks him to join his side, arguing that humans will never accept him because he is half vampire. Blade rejects his offer and Frost gets furious. He secretly goes to where Whistler and Karen are hiding. Karen has just found a cure for herself, but it does not work on Blade's blood sample. They are caught off guard by Frost's attack. Frost hurts Whistler and kidnaps Karen, then escapes. Blade comes back and sees Whistler badly wounded. Whistler discloses that Frost requires Blade's blood to complete the ritual of summoning La Magra, which will trigger a vampire apocalypse. He warns Blade not to pursue Frost any further, but Blade rejects his advice. As Whistler's injuries prove too severe, he requests Blade's gun to end his life before he succumbs to vampirism. Blade then prepares for an assault on Frost's headquarters, arming himself with Karen's EDTA serums as one of his weapons. Frost brings Karen to his lavish penthouse and explains to her that he believes vampires are the superior race on the planet. Blade intrudes Frost's base and defeats several of his men. He learns that Karen's serums work as the vampires he injects them with eventually explode. When entering Frost's bedroom, he learns that his mother is still alive. She looks young and undamaged, even embraces her new identity as a vampire. Frost emerges and attacks Blade from behind, revealing that he was the vampire who attacked Blade's mother years ago, the same vampire that Blade has been seeking all his life. He then throws Blade into a dungeon, where he is imprisoned with Karen. At the Temple of Eternal Night, Blade and Karen are separated. Blade is taken to a cage where his blood will be drained to fuel the ritual, while Karen is held in a cell. She finds out that Curtis, her former colleague, lived through the vampire attack but he is now a zombie-like being. She tricks him and gets out of the cage, then hurries to look for Blade. Frost has brought the pureblood vampire elders as his 12 victims for the La Magra ritual. Blade's blood flows through the wall and drips into each of the victims' foreheads. Then, the victims' lives are sucked out while Frost begins to gain the full power of the blood god. Karen reaches Blade and releases him, who is very weak. She realizes he will die without blood and tells him to bite her to get some of her blood and recover his strength. He does it and his super strength is restored. Then, he encounters his mother and defeats her. He continues defeating Frost's henchmen one by one until only Frost remains, challenging him to a duel. Blade learns that Frost cannot be defeated by weapons, as he can easily regenerate his body and sustain any damage. He notices his EDTA serums being stuck in the temple walls and aims to loosen them. Frost assumes Blade wants the serum to boost his strength, but he stabs Frost with all those needles. The excess of EDTA makes Frost's body swell and finally burst. Blade lifts Karen up and they flee from the temple. Karen says that she can keep working to find a cure for Blade, but Blade worries that his fight against vampires is not over yet. He suggests she make a better serum instead, that he can use against wicked vampires. Later on, he stops a short vampire attack in Moscow, Russia. Thank you for joining us into our review. We hope you had as much fun watching it as we did breaking it down for you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video from us.